Thank you so much for being here.
What a joy.
What a joy. What a joy it is to be here with you with all this insane news happening in the world
Yeah,
right now.
fun day for you.
So much fun. Every day is a fun day for us here at the Daily Show.
Oh, yeah.
But you are the bright light.
Oh, you're very kind.
You have had massive success with your young adult novels, A Fault in Our Stars, Looking for Alaska. You and your brother have had, were kind of early pioneers, so to speak, with your YouTube channel, billions of views. And now you have this #1 New York Times bestseller, Everything Is Tuberculosis. You're like a modern day Renaissance man.
That's very kind.
Who's also trying to eradicate a deadly disease.
Yeah, I'm super opposed to tuberculosis, it's true. I'm a little confused why everyone else isn't. Feels like should be kind of a universally held opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was traveling in Sierra Leone in 2019. I didn't even know that tuberculosis was still a thing, to be honest with you.
Right.
When I was in Sierra Leone in 2019 and I was asked to go to a TB hospital there. And when I was there, I met a kid named Henry, which is also my son's name. And through knowing Henry and following his story, trying to recover from drug-resistant tuberculosis over the next 5 years, I wouldn't say I fell in love with the disease. I guess I fell in hate with it, you know?
Yes.
And so that's where this book came from, was from wanting to tell Henry's story, of his ultimate story of survival, and also wanting to tell the story of the fact that this disease is not history, it's present.
Right. And part of what I loved so much about your book, it was fascinating, but it doesn't just go through the history of tuberculosis and the gravity of the disease itself, but you tell all of these personal stories along the way, like Henry and many others. When most Americans, like you said, think about tuberculosis, they think of it as a thing of the past.
Yeah.
But just in 2023, over 1 million people died globally from tuberculosis.
That's right. It's the deadliest infectious disease in the world, and unfortunately, as a direct result of decisions made by our government, that number is going to go up instead of going down. It's been going down for the last 20 years, which is something we can be really proud of. The U.S. has long been the most generous funder of TB response, but that's changing with the dismantling of USAID. And as a direct result, I think the estimates are that within 2 years, we might see 2 million people dying instead of over 1 million.
You say in your book, we know how to live in a world without tuberculosis, but we choose not to live in that world.
Yeah.
And that the problem is us.
Yeah, ultimately, we've known how to cure this disease since the 1950s. And so the problem can't be a bacterium called M. tuberculosis, right? Like, I mean, the bacteria is hard to kill. It's a tough disease to treat. But my brother had cancer a couple years ago, and that's also a hard disease to treat. And nobody at any point said to my brother, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't make sense. It's not cost effective to treat your cancer. They treated his cancer. They cured his cancer. He's here with us today. And that should be the story of everybody who lives with a disease like tuberculosis. It's hard to cure, but it's not impossible to cure. We can achieve cure rates of over 95%. We do that in the United States, and we should be doing it globally. And the fact that we aren't really is kind of a mark of shame on humanity, I think.
You mentioned all the DOGE cuts. You wrote this book before all of that happened.
Yeah, I wish I could write an extra chapter now.
Well, you can.
I will for the paperback,
You might have a sequel on your hands.
Yeah.
With apparently measles are back now too. Are you concerned that tuberculosis has found out that measles is having a moment and it's going to come in and want to teach us all which disease is boss?
Yeah. I mean, measles is an interesting case because, of course, it's completely vaccine preventable, right? Tuberculosis hasn't had a new vaccine in over 100 years. So, like, at least when people get tuberculosis, you know, you can say, like, well, this isn't a direct result of misinformation. But in the case of measles, it really is. So I am a little worried that measles, I mean, it's a bummer that measles is making a comeback, Desi.
Yes, it is.
It's definitely upsetting.
Yeah.
But, you know, tuberculosis, measles has a long way to go before it captures tuberculosis' spot as the world's deadliest infection.
Okay.
So don't worry yet.
All right. Well, we'll worry for other reasons.
Yeah.
Part of what was so interesting about your book is you also go through all of the history and how the disease impacted everything culturally, poetry, literature, the cowboy hat.
The cowboy hat. Yeah, there was a guy named John B. Stetson who was living as a hat maker in New Jersey who got TB and was told by his doctor the only way to survive is to go west, which lots of people heard. He went west, and as he recovered from his tuberculosis, for reasons we don't understand, some people just recover, and he was one of the lucky few, he also noticed that the hats out west kind of sucked, right? Like, they had the coonskin cap that was all bug infested. They had these straw hats that folks from Mexico and Texas had brought up, but there was no hat for the American West, and he invented the Stetson. Isn't that crazy?
That's how we got our cowboy hat.
Everything is tuberculosis.
Everything it seems that way. You say everything is tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Can you connect tuberculosis to why fighter jets are falling into the water?
Can I? Give me a second.
Okay.
Yes. So that, if I'm not mistaken, I heard you say, I believe, that aircraft carrier is the Harry Truman.
Sure.
Does that sound right? Anybody?
We'll go with it.
We'll go with it.
We'll go with it. I think
Harry Truman, this was in a different age in American history. Harry Truman sent a budget ask to the federal government for $200,000 to fund the development of the most critical, or one of the most critical TB drugs, isoniazid. So if it weren't for Harry Truman sending federal money, federal government taxpayer money to fund the treatment of tuberculosis, we wouldn't have that amazing drug.
Hot damn. Everything is... Okay. Can you connect tuberculosis to why my algorithm keeps feeding me weighted vests?
Absolutely. Not even a challenge. It's trying to shrink your body.
Yeah.
It's trying to make you smaller.
Yes.
And that is a result partly of this tubercular beauty standard. When we romanticize tuberculosis, I know. When we romanticize tuberculosis in the 18th and 19th centuries, we began to associate beauty with very frail, small bodies. And so attempts to shrink the female body are, at least in part, a response to this tuberculosis beauty standard that goes back to the 19th century.
Yeah, well, I'll give you that. I will give you that one. Oh, my God. All right. So how do we go about curing this disease of injustice? What needs to happen in a perfect world? What are the steps that need to be implemented?
Yeah, so we know how to live in a world without TB. You search for cases, you treat every case you find, and you offer preventative therapy to folks who are near those cases. And that's how we eliminated TB in the US, or nearly eliminated it. That's how we've nearly eliminated TB in many countries around the world. But that takes funding. And right now, if you think of the history of tuberculosis as a long staircase where we learn more and learn better tools, have better tools to fight the disease, right now we have the tools, we just don't have the political will. And so right now, unfortunately, we've fallen down the staircase. But it's easy to feel like this is the end of history. Like, I mean, I feel that way all the time, to be honest with you. But of course, it's not the end of history. This is the middle of the story, not the end of the story. And it falls to us to write a better end. And I really believe we can do that together. I really believe that I will live to see a world without tuberculosis. I may need to live a little bit longer than I had originally expected, but I still think that it's possible.
Oh, from your lips to God's ears, thank you. Thank you for making the world suck a little bit less.
Oh, thanks, Desi.
Thank you for educating and engaging your viewers and for all of the work that you do. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Desi.
Everything is Tuberculosis is available now. John Green.